Hey friends, welcome back to Homemade Homestead. My name is Rachel if you're new here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my grandma's potato salad recipe. This potato salad I grew up on. This is what I knew of potato salad, and this is delicious. I hope you guys will give it a try. It's a little bit different. Okay, it's a lot of it different from my mother-in-law's potato salad. And let me get into making it for you, and you can see which one you might like better. Okay, so first I'm gonna start by scrubbing up a bunch of potatoes. I think I did about 8 potatoes. I didn't end up using that many, but I just scrubbed them up anyway. We can use them later on. These potatoes are actually from our garden. We've never grown good potatoes, but this year it was not bad. These ones are like a red Pontiac potato, but use whatever kind of potato you have. So I just give them a good wash, and now I'm gonna chop them up into cubes. And someone kindly commented on my last video of my mother-in-law's potato salad. I believe it was Marilyn. She talked about how her mother likes to cut up their potatoes into chunks and put them in water and boil them that way for 10 minutes. So this time, instead of using my Instant Pot like I did last time, I'm going to boil them. And I heard that you're supposed to start them off in some cold water. So that's what's in my pot. It's just a bunch of cold water, and I'm chopping them up and putting them in there. I've heard cold water is what you want to use so that it doesn't start the cooking process and then they would be unevenly cooked. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down below. I thought they turned out really well this time. They weren't mushy at all. They had a great texture to them. So I think I will be doing them this way again if I can't figure out how to do my Instant Pot a little bit better. So I'm just going to get these up on the stove and get them to a good boil. Once they're boiling, I really want to make sure they're not sticking to the bottom. I found that can happen. So I'm just stirring them really well. And then once I thought they looked done around that 10-minute mark, I poked them with a fork to see if they had a good texture to them. And I was pretty happy with those. See, they're not so gummy this time. I felt like last time in the Instant Pot, I must have just cooked them way too long. But the Instant Pot is like a love-hate relationship. I love it for some things and I'm not for others. So I'm going to be draining them. I like to put cold water down my sink. Something about the pipes. I'm worried that, boiling hot water down your pipes. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. But I just like to rinse these potatoes off to try to bring them down in temperature, cool them down so that they can go into my potato salad and not be super hot. So I'm just rinsing them off. And once they're nice and rinsed, I bring them over to the counter. Now I'm going to be putting some eggs in my Instant Pot. This is one thing I love to cook in there, and I do the 5-5-5 method. So that seems to work out really well for me there. Next, I'm chopping up some celery. Now my celery was a little bit gnarly. It was a little bit older. It's been in my fridge for a few weeks, and so I had to kind of piece parts out of it. I don't know exactly how many stalks of celery I used, but I wanted a cup of chopped celery altogether. And I wanted to do it pretty fine. We're not huge celery people, but it does add a really nice crunch to the dish, so I did add it still, even though it's not our favorite vegetable. So I did them in kind of small pieces. So I did 1 full cup of that into my bowl. Next, I'm working on my chopped onions. These are actually from our garden too. I've never grown red onions successfully. These ones actually came from slips instead of from seed. So they turned out really well though. They're sweet, not super spicy. There's some that are a little bit more intense than others. And I can never figure out which knife to use when cutting onions. I go back and forth, you'll see here in a minute. But I like the little knife, that's one of my favorites. But sometimes it's hard to grip the onion very well. So even though I've been cooking for years, I still go back and forth between different things. But I do like this knife that I'm using. So I'm just going to chop up 1.5 cups worth of onions here. Pretty fine, because you never want to bite into like a huge chunk of like raw onion, right? So I'm just gonna measure these about the same size as my celery, and I'm just gonna do 1.5 cups, which I thought was a really good amount. And I don't end up using all these onions. I still chop them up though and put them in my fridge. They're great to have to throw into eggs or whatever. It's always handy to have some chopped onions already in your fridge. So I added the 1.5 cups to my bowl. Next, I'm gonna work on my hard-boiled eggs. Once they came out of that Instant Pot, I did the 5 minutes high pressure, and then I let them go for a 5-minute natural pressure release, and then I put them in some really cold ice water to bring down the temperature, and they peel really well. I mean, these are farm fresh eggs, like they were laid yesterday, and so sometimes with them being so fresh, they're hard to peel. But that's one thing I love to do in my Instant Pot is like these farm fresh eggs. And I just like to do a rough chop on these guys because, again, we don't want a huge bite of any of these stuff. So my family likes things smaller. So I do a rough chop, but like rough, more small on the small end. And then I'm gonna add that to my celery and my onions. Next, we're gonna go in with 1 cup of mayo. I'm just using the Kraft mayonnaise. I'm not like a huge picky name brand person with mayo, but my grandma likes the Hellmann's, I think is the brand of mayonnaise, but use what you like. And then I'm doing 2 tablespoons of vinegar here. I had white vinegar, but use the vinegar that you like. I do like my mother-in-law's because it has like a good bite to it, and I feel like this vinegar helps a lot. Then I add 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and then 1 tablespoon of sugar. And the recipe will be at the end of this video if you miss any of these ingredients. So I could just give it a good stir, and then I add in my potatoes once they've cooled down a lot, because you don't want, to put hot potatoes into your other mixture because it could hurt your mayonnaise and all that stuff. So I let my potatoes cool down a little bit before I add them in, and then I'm just giving it a really good stir. Doesn't that look beautiful? I love all the different colors in it. It looks so good. All right, I just finished making it, and let's give it a taste. It's very different from my mother-in-law's. I like the crisp, crunchy that's in here from the celery and the onion. I'm actually not a huge fan of celery, and neither is my family. So I think that's one drawback for this version. It's very different from my mother-in-law's version. That version has like more of a tang to it. It's got pickles in it and more, mustard, that's the difference. Hers has mustard and this one doesn't. It's really yummy though, and it's very different from the other version. So if you made one, I highly suggest you make the other one, compare, contrast, see what you like better. Well, thank you so much for joining me today in my kitchen, and I hope you guys will give one of these recipes a try, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye now. I'm gonna eat some more.